the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and so far there had not been one bolt of lightning. Let me just read to you. Many of you are familiar with Jonah and the whale, and how Jonah gets gulped up by a whale and spat out into Assyria and finds himself into the city of Nineveh. And this is what the book of Jonah says about this particular city. It says, "And the word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai, go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me." Now, one of the reasons why Jonah didn't want to go and got in a boat and headed off towards Tarshish, and remember that's where the Apostle Paul came from, a couple of thousand years later, that Jonah heads off to Tarshish, not because he was in holiday mode, but he was absolutely scared stiff about what was taking place in Nineveh, and for him to be told to go there by God and tell these people that they're coming under the spotlight of God and the wrath of God is going to come upon them wasn't something that Jonah really wanted to do. He says, "Blow that for a joke, Lord, send somebody else, I'm out of here." And he takes off. And of course we know that God apprehends him. And ultimately he's spat up onto the shores of Assyria, near the city of Nineveh, by a whale. In the 3rd chapter of the book of Jonah, it says, "Don't let any man or beast, herd or flock taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink." This is the prophecy against Nineveh. "But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence." You see, the Lord knew them through and through. And in the last chapter, it says, "But Nineveh has more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left." In other words, he's talking about a people that are absolutely confused and messed up in their brain about what is right and what is wrong. Now, I want to ask you today, are we as a society messed up in our brain concerning what is right and what is wrong? The truth is, we are. We've got kids out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, between 5 and 10 years of age, that are trashing our property. Our society is mixed up in their head. These kids are going home, I bet you they're not going home full of remorse about what they have done. They're going home and they'll brag to their brothers and sisters, and at school on Monday morning, they'll brag to somebody else about what they have done. We live in a society that is messed up. And the truth is, that would be great if that society and that messed up aspect of society didn't include us. Now, in the midst of all of this, the prophet Nahum says that divine trouble is brewing. It is only a matter of time. And in verse 2 of our text, we get great insight into the character of God when Nahum says, God is jealous. He is an avenging God. His wrath will break forth against his foes. Now, right away, you and me have a little problem with that. Because any time we hear the word jealousy or anger or wrath used in conjunction with God, it grates us. Now, I bet you there were people here this morning that thought when I was going to talk on the wrath of God, that some of you might have been thinking, "John, you are mad." But the reality is that these words, when we apply them to God, they grate us because we cannot reconcile these words with this other God that somehow that we have created in our own mind. And I'm not saying the things that we have created in our own mind are necessarily wrong. God is a God of great love and compassion and mercy. But he is also full of justice. And God demands justice, as we are seeing here. Now, as I said, we have this problem now. And because when we get jealous, when we get angry, when we display our wrath for one reason or another, it is always tainted by sin. And we tend to put our human definitions of these words when they're used in reference to God, which is completely wrong. That is, When somebody tells me, I got absolutely mad with the kids the other day, or I got really, really jealous of something that went on, and we hear those words spoken of in the context of God, we take our human definition of those words and we place them on the words that the Bible uses, and let me tell you that that is completely wrong. Now, let me explain. God, and this will not come as a surprise to anyone, is totally righteous. Remember, God is totally pure. Psalm 119 and verse 137, as David was contemplating his God, he says, "Righteous are you, Lord." Righteous are you, Lord. That means totally right, has a complete inability to sin, is not able to live in the context of sin because of the nature of his own righteousness. That's who he is. You can spell God R-I-G-H-T E-O-U-S-N-E-S-S. God is the righteous God with a capital R. That's his name. He is completely holy. His name is holy. He's completely righteous and he is completely just. You can spell the name of the Lord with a capital J, J-U-S-T. He is incapable of coexisting with sin. His wrath, his anger are never out of control. His wrath is part of his holiness and his purity. Now that's a very difficult concept for people like us to understand, who have grown up living under the wrath or the anger or the idiosyncrasies of a parent, and all of a sudden we find ourselves now with our own kids struggling with all the stuff that goes on in the life of kids. You can imagine what it would be like for the parents of those kids out there. When this guy said to me on Saturday morning at 1 o'clock when we were sitting out there, he says, "I've got teenage kids, but I can't control them." Well, of course he can't. If you lose control of your kids when they're 2 and 3 years of age, especially 4, 5 and 6, you won't control them when they're 16 or 17. You're going to have to wait until they may be old enough, or they have some experience in life that shakes the absolute foundations of their life, before that they will give over the control of their life maybe to somebody else. But I'm telling you, you lose control when they're 3 and 4 years of age. If you let those kids set their own boundaries, you are in real strife. And that's what the writer of Proverbs was saying when he says, "Do not move the ancient boundary stone set up by your forefathers." Now those ancient boundary stones, those boundaries in which people lived, were set up by the forefathers of the Israelites, but boundaries that were given to them by God. You see, God created these boundaries for them and said to them, "You live within those boundaries, and you teach your kids how to do that. You get your kids to teach their kids," and so on and so forth. They even wore those things around their neck. They wore these little things around their neck that had these boundaries stamped on them, and every day that thing was a reminder to them as to what life was really all about. And I'm afraid that in our society we have permitted 3, 5 and 7 and 9-year-old kids to create their own boundaries. And we're reaping the consequences today.